first light of dawn on September the 1st, 1939, the Luftwaffe roared over the frontier of Poland, heading for the Polish airfields. The Germans were applying with devastating logic the first principle of successful modern warfare: to strike at the enemy's air bases and deny him their use, to keep his air force on the ground and leave his armies unprotected against the onslaught from the air. The bombers strike first, and as the invading armies surge forward, every other weapon is brought into play in the ruthless drive to capture the key airfield: heavy artillery, infantry, flamethrowers and tanks. But it is not sufficient to deprive the enemy of his airfields. The invader must turn them quickly to his own account, bring up his squadrons with their ground crews and supplies, so that the devastation of bombing may be hurled deeper and deeper into enemy territory. The same story could be told of Norway, Holland, Greece and Crete. In the late summer of 1940, Goering attempted the same tactics against the airfields of southeast England. We know how he failed, but the threat of air and sea invasion remained. Urgent steps had to be taken to perfect the defenses of our aerodromes, and for this purpose the RAF Regiment was formed. The function of the regiment has swung with the general tide of war from the defensive to the offensive, but it is still the same essential training which makes the perfect fighting man. First, physical fitness.
On guard!
Then the aggressive spirit of attack, exemplified by orthodox bayonet training.
Kill! Go up! Kill!
Queensberry rules may mean a quick death. It pays better to resort to the less orthodox methods of unarmed combat. Courage and aggression must be tempered with caution.
Line!
Mines and booby traps are a special feature of German defensive action. Weapon training is all important, with rifle, pistol, Bren, Sten gun, anti-tank rifle, mortar, Bofors gun, The regiment must be proficient in all except the heaviest arms, must be prepared to fight all phases of an action without support from outside sources. And then there is the cunning of battlecraft, without which the finest weapons and the highest courage are valueless to the soldier in action. The assault course teaches quickness of mind, control of body, individual resource, ingenuity, an eye for landscape, indifference to the din of battle, and the value of cover. It toughens and gives confidence by simulating the actual conditions of warfare. street fighting presents unusual problems, and therefore special technique and apparatus have been devised. The men of the RAF Regiment have to be sailors as well. This is total war, as total for the regiment as it is for an armoured division or the brigade of guards. On its fighting efficiency depends the whole security of the RAF organisation. These scenes, taken in November 1942, show just how vitally necessary is that training in versatility. Men of the regiment man the ack-ack guns and the ships of this convoy on its way to North Africa. Down the scrambling nets on November the 7th. Units of the regiment were amongst the earliest British forces to land. Here is a squadron camping out in the forward area of Tunisia. The call is received to go up into the line. The great Allied advance is imminent, and the regiment must be in the front, ready to seize and defend the enemy aerodromes. A battery of 25-pounders is given a final clean and overhaul before moving up to the famous Medjez El Bab sector. Some of the bloodiest fighting of the campaign took place in the area around the small town of Medjez. Here, the regiment were given a piece of the front line to hold for several weeks, and these few scenes were taken by a cameraman who lived amongst them. But the ultimate purpose of all the regiment's activities The purpose for which it undergoes such varied and vigorous training is the capture and protection of the airfields from which the squadrons of the RAF operate. Here in Libya, at Benina behind Benghazi, armored car units of the regiment are seen driving into the recently captured airfield. One thing alone matters: to get our aircraft onto the airfield, refueled and rearmed in the minimum time, so that they can take off again after the retreating Rommel, harassing him continually so that he has no chance to turn and stand. Anti-aircraft defenses are set up around the perimeter while the surface of the airfield is tested for mines. Crews arrive with the essential stores. Signals set up their communications and advise the squadrons that the aerodrome is fit to receive them. Before long, the Kitty Hawks begin to drop down out of the sky. Water, petrol, and bombs are ready for them. And in less than an hour, they are racing on after the retreating enemy. With the squadron once more airborne, attention can be turned to cleaning up the aerodrome, making slit trenches, camouflaging hangars, and filling in the craters. It is not the least exaggeration to say that the speed, skill and devotion to duty of all branches of the ground personnel of the Royal Air Force played a major and decisive part in throwing the Axis out of Africa. All this was achieved because every man had a pride in his work and a pride in the service. Pride born of confidence, confidence instilled by thorough training, training based on individual efficiency and self-respect. The RAF Regiment is judged by the highest standards in the land.